that fed cattle, they're starting to see some run-ups. We've seen some declining input prices. We have that shorter supply. Those feedlots are still trying to put as many cattle as they can into those feedlots.
How dark is it right now for those feedlots? The packers are still doing well, right?
The packers are still doing well. They're taking some of that margin there. The feedlots are still seeing those declining margins. Haven't seen much improvement. We haven't seen enough increases in input prices and enough in the live cattle prices to help the feedlots out.
Seasonality, are we totally different than what you would normally expect for this time of year?
We're still seeing that usual decline in prices through the year. Hopefully, as we get into the fourth quarter, later in the fall, start to see those prices go up again. And a lot of that's going to be driven by those wholesale prices. We're starting to maybe see a bottoming in the wholesale prices. And if we can start to see those increase, maybe start to see some of these other prices start to go up.
The wholesale decrease would mean what for perhaps a consumer?
The wholesale price, if we talk about the cutout price, that leads into retail prices, but most of those prices go, we've seen those increases in the retail sector over time, and we're probably not going to see big declines, as we move forward.
Production-wise, what are we seeing in numbers when you look at total cattle?
If we look at total production, beef production, we've seen an increase in the last, this year over last year. If we look at where our beef production comes from, we've got two sectors basically. So we have the cow and bull sector, which is basically our hamburger products. And then you have the heifers and steers that becomes more of your higher quality cuts, your export products. If we look at those two sectors, the cow slaughter sector, we saw, January, February numbers, we actually were slaughtering less than we were a year ago. But as we hit March, because of the extended weather, forage conditions, pasture conditions, we actually saw an increase in slaughter above last year through March. That's caused us to be about 3.4% higher in cow slaughter over last year. So that's kind of offsetting some of our, beef production declines in the heifer and slaughter. But we are still seeing, maybe some more placements of heifers in feed yards as we continue to move forward. Probably seeing more of a decline, maybe again in our herds, and not a rebuilding like we had initially hoped for.
What do you expect to see in that next cattle on feed report?
Again, placements probably still somewhat declining just because of normal declines in overall herds.
Any action in the live market?
There's not. The last couple weeks into the first of this week, it's continued to see not a lot of activity going on. We did make some sales, I think, in the Southern Plains, about $119 per hundredweight on the live. Here in Nebraska, it was about $120, but it's still, we're on very light demand. The packers just aren't demanding that product right now. If you look in
the moving over to swine, if you look in the pork sector, they're doing quite well right now. Why?
Pork continues to, keep increasing. They're seeing good margins. That input prices, they've been able to do, and just the pork industry itself continues to see some improvements as they move forward.
Seasonally, is that something that can continue for a little while?
Hopefully, maybe see it for a little bit longer for the pork industry as we move forward.
Exports on either side, either in beef or in pork, are those strong right now? Do you think there's opportunity for growth?
We're still seeing some strong demand on the export side. In the beef, Japan has seen, we've seen a lot of export there to Japan. That's been a very good export market for beef here in 2013.
Strong dollar right now?
And dollars, helping it out. We've actually seen a little bit of decline in the dollar there for a little bit, which made our product a little bit more appealing. But yeah, the strength of the dollar is still going to play a big role in this.